I am on the final leg of a restoration project that started about a year and a half ago. Doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's been a year and a half since I started. And so this is the last phase. Mind you, I put on a new roof, new kitchen, 2 new bathrooms, and the interior has been restored. Now we're doing the windows, and I tell you, I'm an amateur's amateur when it comes to this, thank God for YouTube. But here's where we are. You have to, if you're interested in this type of thing, one has to strip this down to the bare bone, depending on what you want to do with it. In my case, I would like to continue with the sort of pattern that my aunt started many years ago. She had the interior windows stained, and then the exterior side was painted white accordingly. But however, the windows in the house were all stuck, and the paint was so thick that it was very, very difficult to get off. Matter of fact, it's the most difficult thing one can do. It's very laborious, tedious, time-consuming, energy-consuming, spiritual-consuming. You have to start with, there's a chemical process a couple of chemical processes. One, which is environmental friendly. I don't have the can in front of me, but you want to paste that on, let it sit overnight. Then that'll take a lot of it off, scrape it manually. And speaking of scrapers, you need to have, oh my God, a variety of scrapers in your arsenal. There's so many kinds that you need. You need this and this and this, and all these kind of corner scrapers. You need burners to burn the wood off, because there's going to be stubborn areas. So when you burn it off, it'll kind of melt up. So you need the appropriate gloves, you need the appropriate headgear, hazmat gear, and then the most expensive part of your arsenal will be sanders. You need some sanders. You can go to Home Depot and get some sanders, Lowe's, whatever. Those are off the shelf. But in my case, I discovered through trial and error that I needed something far more durable. So we have this Merca Dios set here, which is basically sanders from hell. I mean, I'm not kidding. I've got 4 or 5 of those. Home Depot can't touch any of this stuff here. This is state-of-the-art, German engineered, maybe Sweden, definitely not US. So I've got about 4 or 5 of those, different shapes, different sizes. Just by comparison, the ones at Home Depot sanders, they call them rotary sanders that spin round and round. Some people call them handheld sanders. So there's handheld sanders like the ones I just showed you. Then there's a bigger one, the more robust. Those are called belt sanders. You have to hold those with 2 hands. They're really monstrous. The ones I just showed you are handheld rotary. Compared to Home Depot, which they run about $39 up to $69. The better ones might cost you $79, $80. These jokers here cost $650 each. Period. Very rarely can you get them on sale. They're not sale items, but they're definitely worth it. They burn through whatever. You don't even have to use the chemical. You can just jump right in with these things and they'll just burn the paint right off. The only issue is you're going to be getting a lot of dust. Dust's going to be everywhere, so you need to wear, oh my God, a full hazmat. You need a face respirator for sure, because this is asbestos. You know, you need this. This comes with a vacuum hookup actually, so a lot of the dust can be controlled, right? So you see this little nozzle here. I'm not pulling out the whole thing, but that nozzle at the bottom. 4th of July. Here we go. That nozzle connects to a vacuum, a powerful vacuum. So particularly if you're thinking about working indoors, that vacuum is essential. Today I'm working outdoors, so don't have the vacuum hooked up. But in any way, this particular frame is about 99-98% done. But you know, a lot of architectural artistry here, so you know, ended up pulling this stuff apart accidentally. Now I gotta figure out, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, this stuff is handmade, right? Like 105 years ago. So it's delicate, but I got to use wood glue, and I got to figure out how this stuff shouldn't be too hard to put back together. But I've got 10 of these frames to do. Not to mention they have to be glazed. What is glazed? You have to put the glass back in a particular way that's not as easy as it sounds. They got to be glazed in. So that's a time-consuming process. This one frame here took me, well, about 4 or 5 days to complete. I've got 10 of them to do. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get through it. So I do have did contract with this company where not contract, but I know a company that will put the glass back in for you and will glaze it. And they'll do a wonderful, excellent, just great job. I mean, lovely job. Better than I could do. I did one and it turned out okay, but it took me like, the learning curve was pretty steep on how to glaze the glass back in. And we're talking about all the little stuff. one pane of glass, like the one sitting over there, that's easy. That's fairly easy. But when you get all this that has to be glazed in individually to perfection, because you know it's going to be the outside of the glass, where people are going to be walking down and seeing it. So that needs to be neat, tidy, trimmed, so that you can't see it from the inside. When I say see it, you don't want to see any white gooey stuff from the inside of your house looking out. So the glaze has to be really neat and tidy. I mean, it's not rocket science. It is an art, and just like any art, you have to learn it. You have to be patient, take your time. So this is what's going on with me. I'm gonna try to piece this thing back together, take it in the house where it's cool. Obviously I got to get that, see some white, I got to get all that out. That's coming out. I'm using the mouse sander. They call it a mouse sander because of the pointy head. Gets into those corners, and this bad boy is a beast. It doesn't play. You got all these different types of sandpaper, so you have to know your sandpaper because you don't want to destroy the wood. So you have different grades of sandpaper. They actually, some people or some programs or platforms or websites refer to these as finishers. They use them on cars in particular. These are for automobiles, body shops, which is why they're so durable. They got multiple speeds and different types of sandpaper. So these are monsters. Home Depot, Lowe's, they're not going to touch this kind of stuff. These are very high end. Definitely worth it depending on what you want to get into. I had to discover these after wasting my money on the other sanders. They would break and all this other kind of stuff. But this is the final go around for this particular one. Gonna put some stain on it, and again, that's a process. You have to put pre-stain on it first, and then you have to put you have to choose between an oil-based stain and a water-based stain. Again, thank God for YouTube University. I had to learn all this stuff, but that's okay. It's kind of a labor of love, some would say, given the fact that a lot of the owners of historic properties, they don't have the resources to restore windows. That's very, very pricey. I got a price quote, and that was about $2,000 per window, right? To do what I'm doing, about $2,000 a window, up and down. So I actually hired a company. They came out. I was introduced by the technician who actually does the work. Real cool guy. We connected instantly. I said, man, let's do this for sure. Save me all the time and the headache. Yeah, pricey, but I was gonna bite the bullet, put it on the credit card, whatever. And then the guy's boss comes over the next day or whatever to do kind of an inspection. You talk about a major asshole. I don't know if he was a pure born racist. Comes into my house, no pleasantries, no politeness. Talked down to me like I didn't have money or I was wasting everybody's time, or look, man, we got things to do. What do you want to do? He just asking. They were using a lot of operational terms and tones that I couldn't exactly follow, and he's rolling his eyes like he didn't have time to teach me. The other guy who came over initially, the technician, he was so cool, so laid back, and then finally I said, whoa, man, hold on, man. I'm doing business because of my man right here. And I ended up kicking them both out the house, like right on the spot. I said, man, y'all got to get out of here, man. Next day, they sent an apology with flowers and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm out here doing it myself. It's hard to get people that can do this kind of work. I wanted it to get done. Some people say it's a labor of love. You may not get your money back from this. Just stick it up there, put a fresh coat of paint on it, and just be done with it. The buyer won't know the difference. They won't care. You know, and maybe that's actually true, but in this case, you know, these windows did not go up and down at all. They hadn't been open in decades upon decades, I know. So you see the ropes here. These got to be the old-fashioned kind, right? You got to re-rope these things until the windows will go up and down. They need to look nice, look tidy from the in, from the out, because a lot of windows around here are just like my neighbor's window. Not quite that bad, but not entirely dissimilar. So put all this effort, money, time, energy into restoring the interior. The exterior looks pretty nice, but there's you know, you make a clean spot and then you go, wait a minute, this looks so great. Now I'm looking at this. This is standing out. I can't have it. And what was standing out is the windows, right? So not quite as bad as my neighbors, but definitely not neat, tidy. So at least one or two of them are now that I've done. They look great. Hey, I'm going to come back and show you the after picture. But first I got to finish this here. This one, there's one up next. You can see that one right there. So that's my 4th of July, and that'll be my month of July. And then after July, I'm declaring this whole project after a year and a half done.